too early? I don't know.
No, it's not too early, but hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Here, look.
Okay, perfect.
No, you did there, but we don't. Isn't that pretty?
Beautiful.
View of Italy.
Yes.
God, why did I ever leave Europe? When I see this, I'm like, why did you ever leave there? But you know what? There's good and great stuff everywhere. So I just thought I would introduce people to Italy. We're going to go to Italy. And I met Federica also on Al-Anon Without Borders because Federica said the magic word AIGSM. And I know everybody is. The AIGSM, I'm going to tell you again, is Al-Anon International General
Service Meeting.
And it is for the structures of Europe, South America. I mean, there's all these structures outside of the United States. And they meet with the trustees of the WSO and the executive director. And in order to go to one of these, this is my pet peeve, is that you have to be a trustee or a representative of a country. So the last time I was in the Netherlands not too long ago, and I said, "Who's representing the Netherlands?" They go, "Well, we don't have anybody right now." I'm like, "Seriously?" And I thought, "Oh, I should move." My sponsor just cracked up and said, "Wouldn't that be fun to walk in?" And they go, "Yvonne?" I'm like, move to the Netherlands so I could come to the IAGSM and be a representative. And Federica's been to one, so she had my attention when she was talking about AIGSM one day, and I'm gonna take that out of the picture. And Federica is going to share with us and two other speakers. And I've been trying to see now, Federica. Let me ask you a question. So there is
Suzanne M.
Suzanne M. Yes,
is the second speaker.
Oh yeah, and Siilvia.
And Siilvia. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Billy got them all, so they can all unmute them when the time comes.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask Diana to do a bell ringer, and then I'm going to come right back to you. Okay, Federica?
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Diana.
Hi, Yvonne. I just wanted to mention, since we're in Italy held its first National Service Conference in 1995. I'm Diana, and that's the way it was.
Wow. That's it? No more? You got one only?
You want another? Okay. Chicago registers an Al-Anon group in Jordan. The first Al-Anon group in Amman was registered by an Al-Anon member from Chicago, Illinois, who visited there. However, encouragement was sent since they were experiencing difficulties maintaining members in the group. I'm Diana, and that's the way it was.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you, Yvonne.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll go back to Federica. If you want to set us up, Federica, and do the introductions and let us know who starts, love that.
Okay. Hi, my name is Federica. I am a very grateful member of Al-Anon in recovery in this wonderful worldwide fellowship. And this Al-Anon Without Borders is an example. We are really similar, different countries, but one only voices and program. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Bill, and all the members involved in this amazing service of Al-Anon Without Borders. And thank you for inviting me to be part of this experience. I listened someone during this afternoon, for me is an afternoon meeting, told that the mind said no, but the heart say yes. And for me, it's the same. I felt frightened when you asked me, but I say yes. I say yes because we would like to speak about sponsoring, recover together, work the program together as our bookmark, sponsorship, working together to recover. This was the idea we had when we began to share with my sponsor and with my sponsors. When I entered in Al-Anon, I bought all the books and pamphlets that were available in Italy at that time. I love our literature.
Could you open with the Serenity Prayer?
Oh, sorry, I don't understand this. Of course, sorry. In Italian, ok. Signore, concedimi la serenità di accettare le cose che non posso cambiare, il coraggio di cambiare quelle che posso e la saggezza di conoscerne la differenza. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't understand. So, when I entered in Al-Anon, I bought all the books because I am addicted to books. And so I bought all the books and pamphlets that were available in Italy at that time. I love our literature because in them I found a lot of answers to unresolved questions of my life. In order to let go of control and my obsession with my husband's drinking, I read and I have to keep my mind busy, so I decided to study English again. I had to let go of that practice after my marriage many years before. Since 2003, I have been buying on literature in English from the WSO just to see, and because I was keen to know if I was able to understand our program in English, and I really was. As you may imagine, Al-Anon literature became my best friend and my sponsor in this period of early recovery, especially English literature. I understood the importance of sponsorship in order to work the steps and to go through the process of recovery. And I asked a lot of people to be my sponsor, but unfortunately, I didn't find a sponsor who sponsored according to the Al-Anon principles, as stated very clearly in the bookmark. Sponsorship, working together to recover, and this is the pamphlet. In Italy, we have a lot of problems with high pressure sponsorship, people who tell you what to do or constantly give advice, and this type of sponsor didn't work for me. I am a rebel. I didn't respect my parents. Can you imagine a sponsor who told me what to do and what to and give me advice? I gave up and stopped looking for a sponsor. I continued to rely on the literature and the group as my sponsor. Thanks to my higher power, I never gave up my commitment to the program and participate in service, both within the group and at higher levels in order to grow in my recovery. I also went on with my study and practice of English language because I love this language. It was an inspiration of my higher power, I have no doubt. This language is very direct and clear, and it was and it is very helpful to me in clarifying my ideas and my understanding and practice of my recovery program. In order to practice my English conversation, I went to an English woman named Miss Claire, who lived in my town. Unfortunately, she suddenly died, and I felt lost because she meant a lot to me. Then one day, my higher power was at work again. During a trip in Florence, I met an American lady who seemed to be thoughtful and kind, and who lived in my small town. During our conversation, I asked her if we could meet once a week to have English conversation, just like I was used to do with this Miss Claire. And she told me she will be happy to help me improve my English. So we began to meet for an hour every week. She was very encouraging, even when I made mistakes, and I felt attracted to the light in her eyes and the welcoming and loving way she treated me. Very, very differently from my alcoholic family. One day, she told me that she would be going to the US and asked me if there was anything she could buy from the USA. She said she would be happy to get it for me and bring it back. At the moment, I didn't think I needed anything. But again, a power greater than myself made me stay in my chair, and the name of the book popped up in my mind. The name of the book was When Love Is Not Enough, the biography of Lois Wilson, a co-founder of Al-Anon. I asked her if she could get the book for me and began to write down the title and author on a card. As I began to write the name Lois Wilson, she asked me, "Do you know who Lois Wilson is?" "Yes, I do," I replied. Then she asked, "Do you know that Lois Wilson is the wife of Bill Wilson, the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous?" "Yes, I know," I replied, "because I am an Al-Anon member." At that point, she told me she was in Al-Anon as well, and we hugged each other and we cried. This was and still is one of the miracles that my higher power has given me during my recovery, and it is a great example of let go and let God. When she came back to Italy, I asked her to be my sponsor, and we began to work the steps, the traditions, and the concept using the book Path to Recovery. I like this book. I found very, very useful for my recovery. We have been working together once a week since 2007, first in person and now on Skype as she returned to US after the birth of her first grandchild. I was able to experience the importance and the huge difference it makes to work with a sponsor who practices the principles of the program and is in recovery according to our three legacies. It was the first honest and healthy relationship in my life, and thanks to her experience, strength, and hope, I have today an awareness and acceptance of myself that I never dreamed was possible. It is a joy of the heart to pass on the experience, strength, and hope of our amazing programs to others, as it was passed on to me. For that, I am very, very grateful. I would like to thank the alcoholism of my husband and my higher power, my sponsor, and all the Al-Anon members I have been privileged to sponsor for giving me the opportunity to share my experience, strength, and hope for enhancing my recovery. And now, Yvonne, I will pass to Suzanne M., that is my sponsor. And thank you so much for allowing me to be of service.
Hello, everyone. Can you all hear me? Raise your hand. Good? Okay. My name is Suzanne. First of all, I want to say that I would love to be sharing this from my heart, but I found it was better if I wrote down my words ahead of time because otherwise I could fill up an hour. So we'll try to keep it limited here. I'm from the USA, and I'm a grateful member of the Worldwide Fellowship of Al-Anon Family Groups. Thank you, Yvonne, and Al-Anon Without Borders for giving me the opportunity to share my experience, strength, and hope with you on the topic of sponsorship. And thanks to my sponsee, Federica, for finding this online forum. It has been a wonderful part in addition to my recovery in this time of coronavirus. Before I share with you about my experience with sponsorship, I'd like to tell you about a little bit about how I got to Italy, as it's part of my Al-Anon story. I grew up in an alcoholic household. My father was an active alcoholic all my life, and my mother was an unrecovered Al-Anon. Growing up in an alcoholic family is a lonely business. I played my part by focusing on everyone else's needs and diffusing tension by being charming and funny. I was surrounded by adults most of the time, as my sister was 9 years older and my father was almost 50 when I was born. As a result, I appeared to be very mature and responsible for my age, but I grew up with no idea as to who I was or what I wanted out of life, except for one thing. I wanted to travel to Italy to see Michelangelo's David and Pietà more than anything else in the world. It took me 45 years and 5 years of work in Al-Anon before I finally felt worthy enough to travel to Italy and fulfill my dream. When I first traveled to Italy, I was 57 years old, and I experienced a profound feeling of homecoming. Especially when I was in Umbria. Umbria is in the central part of Italy, between Florence and Rome and next to Tuscany. And it is called the Green Heart of Italy for a reason. It reminded me very much of the area I grew up in, Seattle, Washington, without the evergreens. I returned for a second time and had the same sense of homecoming when setting foot in Umbria. I took a third trip, which was an organized one focusing on the north of Italy and its art and architecture. When the trip was over, I headed to Umbria, and you guessed it, I had the same experience again, a profound call and feeling of homecoming. A month later, I had my student visa, and I was enrolled in the University for Foreigners in Perugia, Umbria, to study the Italian language. After 6 months of study, I returned to the US, sold almost all of my belongings, and moved to Italy. In anticipation, I thought about what I might have to offer the Italians that they weren't able to provide for themselves. The only thing that I could think of was that I was a native English speaker. So upon my return, I was trained and certified to teach English as a second language. I asked my higher power to put me in a place where I could be of service. And I ended up in a small agricultural community on the border between Umbria and Tuscany, Federica's small hometown. Federica has told you the story about how we found each other. I believe that my higher power had this in mind when I asked to be placed where I could be of service. Here is the very card upon which she wrote the words which changed both of our lives. Now I will share with you my experience of sponsorship. As part of the 12th step, sponsorship is the process of carrying the message of recovery by helping others work the 12 steps of our program and being of service. It is a vital part of our program, and working the 12 steps with a sponsor promises a spiritual awakening. It has been and continues to be an important part of my recovery. The joy of seeing someone change and recover from the effects of someone else's drinking is an experience not to be missed. The only requirement for sponsorship is that you be at least one step ahead of your sponsee. But I recommend working all of the 12 steps before making yourself available to serve as a sponsor. There are plenty of other ways to do service in Al-Anon besides sponsoring, so you can still get busy and get better while working the steps. Working the steps without a sponsor is like trying to learn how to ride a bicycle from reading a book. It can be done, but it is much harder, and there are lots of bumps and bruises along the way. I have found that sponsoring others takes me out of myself and my petty problems and gives me the opportunity to be relieved of the bondage of self or ego, which is ever with me. It also offers me the chance to learn more about myself and to grow in Al-Anon as I always work the steps along with my sponsee. I can honestly say that I get far more out of sponsorship than I put into it. Every time I read a piece of literature together with a sponsee, I see something new that I swear was not there before. Of course, none of the words have been changed, but I have changed, and I see things from a different point of view. To me, the most important part of sponsorship is listening. Listening with the heart instead of just the head. My higher power speaks to me through my sponsees and other program members, so listening attentively and without judgment makes me ready to hear what my higher power is trying to say. Before I meet with a sponsee, I always pray to my higher power that I will be given the right words to say and the right time to say them. I find that way I'm in much less danger of interrupting or giving my opinion or advice. So far, it has never failed me. Sure, I make mistakes, but nothing that a quick 10th step and an amend can't make right. You don't have to know it all in order to be an effective sponsor. I find that sharing suggestions for reading Al-Anon literature, as well as our slogans, is an easy way to remind sponsees of the tools of the program. When a sponsee is stressed or tired, I may try Easy Does It. First things first. And let go and let God. If she is facing a problem and looking for an answer, I may remind her to pray for guidance and knowledge of God's will. If she is preparing to confront someone, I ask her if what she is about to say thoughtful, helpful, intelligent, necessary, and kind. In other words, to think before speaking. This group today there's a lot of long-term recovery here, but there are also a lot of newcomers. And I hope that you've heard something in this message that will encourage you to consider sponsorship as the way to enhance your recovery and growth. I found it to be a privilege, an immense privilege, and a pleasure. I hope you do too. Thank you for letting me share and be of service. Now I'll turn the meeting back over to Yvonne and to Siilvia, Federica's sponsee.
Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you, Federica. Siilvia, you have the ability to unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot. I want to thank Yvonne and Federica to give me this opportunity to be here. I'm impressed. I'm seeing 300 people, and I can actually look at their face. For me, it's great. Being in a place where I don't have face-to-face meeting, internet meetings where what I have been attached to for a long time, since 2013, when I left Italy, because I'm not in Italy anymore since 2013, and I go back once a while, and that is a chance to see my sponsor again, and all the members of the face-to-face meeting groups that I joined for the first time. In fact, I had the chance to meet my sponsor in the summer of 2012, and that was in Italy when I went back with my husband from Canada to get married. And it's in that summer that active alcoholism was there, and he joined AA not for the first time, but in Italy, in a foreign country for him with a different language. And he was the one telling me, there is a place for you too, and there are groups called Al-Anon where you could join. That was still the time when I thought that I didn't need to go. I think fact, I dropped him off to his first meeting and I went off to the hair salon or something. And after things were really getting difficult and I hit my bottom, it's there that I started to attend the 2 meetings that we had at that time a week. And I felt, of course, home right away. And even if there were still things that I couldn't understand, seeing the steps and the traditions and the concept, where when people were speaking, I felt that I was the right place where I was supposed to be. And there was a book at the meeting where people could write down their telephone number if they wanted to be sponsored. I didn't know what sponsor mean at that time. But I was listening. People talking, and it's when Federica was speaking that I felt that something was sinking in a way that it couldn't when other members of the group were speaking. And it's now that I understand that is the recovery. It's when the member of the group itself is in a recovery, working the steps and the traditions and the concept. So I left, a few weeks passed, and there was at that time, after a few weeks passed, I think that we went off honeymoon, the worst honeymoon that you can have in active alcoholism, and cooked enough. I went back, and it was again my husband that said, well, what are you waiting for? You have the numbers, why you don't call to get a sponsor? Or you want to do like you usually do, starting something and never finish it. That reminds me of my parents' words, by the way. And it was through his words that I picked the phone and I called my Federica, my sponsor. The first day that we met was just in a simple a cafe near the room of our face-to-face, our home meeting. And the first thing that she did is to show me it's not a pamphlet, it's the bookmark where it says what sponsorship is. She understood that I didn't need to understand what sponsorship is. So I can read a few of the lines from the sponsorship, working together to recover. And sponsorship is a relationship built on equality, anonymity, and trust, an opportunity for growth for both the sponsee and the sponsor, a benefit at any stage of recovery, a commitment to practice healthy communication, not based on intimidation or demands, an agreement to recover and grow together, not to struggle in isolation, an opportunity to self-discovery, not a teacher-pupil relationship, an experience based on unconditional love, not shame or judgment, a spiritual relationship with no strings attached, a one-to-one relationship, not an exclusive club, and sponsors are respectful of the anonymity of others, willing to freely give time to the relationship, continuing to work on their own recovery, comfortable to be with, encouraging, not pushy, open-minded listeners, equal partners in recovery, able to listen without giving advice, a recovery source for learning how to use the Al-Anon principles. This is what I experienced since I met Federica in this special relationship of sponsorship. And there is one thing that now I recognize that makes this special relationship happen, and is the commitment that I put and my sponsor put in building this relationship together, keeping coming back. And what helped me to go back to the relationship was the way that the sponsor was able to put the principle of the learning by examples for me. I grew up in a family where I was, like in many family, I guess, anyway, where you have been told what to do, what not to do, and for a character like mine, where defiant to authorities and escaping any kind of authoritative teaching, having my sponsor working more on sharing her experience, not telling me what to do or what not to do, that kept me going back to her. I was able just to listen to her, keep what I could fit in my experience, and leave the rest. And for 1 year, until I was in Italy, we have been seeing each other for more than, I think, that 3 times a week. I used to drive for an hour or more to go to her place and meet her. I was pregnant of my 3rd child. Violence was in the family. Drinking was in the family at that time. Even in that difficult situation, she was able not to judge, not to tell me what to do when I was experiencing violence, but again, sharing her experience and let me choose what was the best for me. And also coming to pick me up when I couldn't drive anymore because of my pregnancy, taking me to meetings, 3 meetings a week. Sharing English literature, which was a big advantage for me because I could now see the difference when I read Italian literature and English literature, how much I could feel more in touch with it. And so when I left in 2013, our relationship became in distance. I moved to places where no face-to-face meeting were present, and for me, my sponsor was an anchor where I could go and find support where meetings were impossible, and it still is. I'm grateful to the program because I could find, and it's not easy to find a sponsor that is able to bring you in such a beautiful journey. And I hope in the future when I will be able to go back to face-to-face meeting, put in practice sponsorship as well, and being able to pass it on to other people and our other members of this special fellowship. And thanks a lot for letting me share, and I'll pass to Yvonne right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Siilvia. Thank you so much. I love that you talk about reading the literature in English versus Italian. That makes a difference. It does make a difference to me. I